The volume of a gas is reduced to half from its original volume. Suppose अगर original volume V है, so the volume of a gas is reduced to half from its original volume. So V dash is equals to V by 2 कर देते हैं. The specific heat will be reduced to half, be doubled, remain constant, increases 4 times. Well, let me tell you one particular thing over here. That specific heat, if I just talk about, specific heat is an intensive property. Okay, if I just talk about specific heat, it is ये एक तरह की intensive property है. And what you mean by intensive property? Intensive properties are the properties that are independent of the amount of the substance basically, which is independent of the quantity of the substance basically. Fine. So specific heat is independent of the mass of a gas and mass is directly proportional to volume. Intensive properties क्या होती हैं? What you mean by intensive properties? So intensive properties are the properties, I'll again repeat the same. They are independent of the amount of the substance. Okay. Intensive properties are the property that are independent of the amount of substance, that are independent of the amount of substance basically. Okay, that's absolutely fine, people. I think I've made my point very much clear over here to you guys. Just let me know if the things are absolutely onto the plate for you people. Hanji. So what does it mean? It means specific heat is independent of the mass of the gas. What does it mean? Ki specific heat is independent. Specific heat is independent, okay, of the mass of a gas. Is independent of the mass of a gas basically. And we all know that mass is directly proportional to volume, isn't it? So specific heat is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature. What do you mean by specific heat? Okay, specific heat के बारे में मैं 2-3 चीज़ें और बता देती हूँ. Specific heat is the amount of heat, required, okay, to raise the temperature, of 1 gram, of a substance, of substance by 1 degree Celsius. Okay. So the SI unit of specific heat capacity is joules per Kelvin per kilogram. So now when the volume of a gas is reduced, if I just talk about the volume of the gas that has been reduced, so the gas molecules have less space to move around. This causes them to strike the walls of the container more often, which increases the pressure basically. So saying that volume of a gas is reduced to half from its original volume, the specific heat will remain constant. Specific heat एक intensive property है. It remains constant when the volume is reduced because this particular property is independent of the amount of the substance. Yes, and if I just talk about if it is independent of the mass and mass is directly proportional to volume, so obviously it won't have any effect. So specific heat will remain constant. Okay, so specific heat of a gas is an intensive property, hence it remains constant when the volume is reduced. That is absolutely fine thing. So option number 3 is the right answer to the question.